I can't fucking find anything I feel grateful for. I just don't feel grateful. Hey YouTubies, it's Tiana here. Welcome back to my channel. I think the first lesson, one of the most important that I've learned during this whole adulthood journey and after 23 years of being alive is definitely to set boundaries. I think it's a lot harder to set boundaries when I was still a teenager. My personality, it's also, I find it very difficult and hard to set boundaries as a kid too, and I think it has something to do with I care so much about other people emotionally. I don't ever want to try to make other people feel uncomfortable, and I tend to read the room, the emotional vibe of a room a lot, and I think the whole concept of growing up, it's about bonding. It's not about boundaries, so that's why it's quite hard for me to just set boundaries with other people. But really, setting boundaries in relationship, especially with closed ones and like family, completely changed my life. Because even with people we're close with, you know, there's times that they hurt us, they hurt our feelings, and we hurt their feelings. And I don't know, I just think that having a certain boundaries and knowing your limits and knowing when to step back and sort of like take a distance sometimes relationally with that person, or you know, in general, definitely help you to clear your mind. And it's definitely helped me a lot. It's definitely made me become more logical and less overwhelmed by my emotions. And I think that's definitely one of the most important lessons and life-changing ones that I've learned. Second lesson is definitely learning that confidence comes from within myself. When confidence comes from within yourself, it's a lot better than when it's come from external validation or external reassurance. I mean, we all sort of seek it when we're still growing up and we're in that ego phase of teenager who's asking yourself who you are and who you are in the world and like what do you want and everything. So that could sort of be overwhelming. The third lesson is definitely to get myself out of my comfort zone little by little. And I mean, it's an important thing to do. It's you get into the real world and transition from that teenage phase to adulthood. But it's definitely helped me a lot to get myself out of my comfort zone because it's challenged myself and it's challenged what I feel comfortable with and what I think is right, and challenged my own assumptions that I formed unconsciously while growing up. So it's definitely helped me a lot to grow as a person, because I think as a kid I was a very shy kid, and I think I was overprotected by my parents a little bit. Actually, quite a lot. I was also a little bit like, I would say, very anxious, depressed kid. I was sort of in my inner world, and that's where I felt the most protected. And I would say I was quite an introverted kid too. So getting myself out of my comfort zone little by little, as I reached my late teens, early 20s, definitely put myself out there more, definitely challenged me and challenged my own beliefs of what I think is right and my own comfort zone and everything that I think was safe and right and correct. Challenging all those things sort of like expanded my growth as a human being. Number 4 is finding my inner zen and trying to maintain it. I think I started to realize this lesson, I think around like last year-ish. I think I was a very conflicted kid growing up. I was very conflicted between my inner logic versus what makes other people feel comfortable, and that created a lot of emotional noise and logical noise, just created a lot of outside and inside noises inside my head. That was why I was so occupied and overwhelmed emotionally all the time. And finding my inner zen, figuring out a way to maintain that zen and that inner peace that I have found, it's so important and it's so life-changing to me. Like, I started to choose my inner logic more instead of always people-pleasing and like trying to make everyone feel comfortable. So scared of hurting other people's feeling and being in a room and always so scared to hurt everyone's feeling and caring so much about what they think created so many emotional noise and logical noise until now. I think I've closely learned this lesson and really actually applied it to my real life at this point. It just made me a lot less conflicted as a person compared to where I was as a kid, and just grounded in my own logic and ideas and being more sure of who I am and what I stand for and what I believe in. Number 5 is definitely to own my insecurities and weaknesses by actually actively working on them and improving them. I think as I got more relationship experiences and I would say dating experiences and the relationship I had with myself too, these relationships sort of acted like a mirror of my own self. I saw myself in these people because the energy they gave me was the energy that I was exuding out. So they were just responding to my energy. As I saw myself in all these relationship, I started to realize that I need to own my own insecurities and weaknesses by actively working on them, and started to be conscious of them and be aware of them. And the best way is definitely through acceptance, accepting them as they are. Definitely those things would started to fade away by me eventually letting those go and knowing how to do better next time. Not sure what I'm talking about. Number 6, taking accountability and responsibility for my own emotions and actions and decisions. This is so important because as a teenager and as a kid, it's so much easier to play a victim. I think I saw this in everyone, and I saw it in myself. I think the cost of it was because I didn't have enough life experiences and exposure to real life. I wasn't navigating real life problems and real life issues and real life dilemmas. And that's why I don't know that I actually have to take accountability and responsibility for my own emotions and actions and decisions that I made. And whatever I did, it stood by me. And it was just so much easier for me to play victim as a teenager, to blame others. As a teenager, I was thinking oh, I wasn't deserved to be treated this way. I don't deserve all these blaming. I don't deserve all these traumas that happened. I don't deserve all these negative emotions that was blamed on me. Yeah, it was just constant loop of blaming and playing a victim. But as I got older and got a little bit more life experiences and more exposure to real life reality, and as my knowledge about the world expanded, I started to realize that no matter how big or how small the issue is, my accountability is always there. And I think I have applied that to who I am as an adult. Number 7 is something that I heard all the time growing up, is mistakes don't define you, they refine you. But I understand it theoretically, hypothetically, not exactly experience wise, not exactly understand it how and to apply it in real life and how it's actually take place and happen in real life. But now I do. As I grew a little bit older and into my 20s and deeper into my adulthood, I know that humans just gonna keep making mistakes. Me, myself, personally, just gonna keep making mistakes. And it's inevitable. It's just unavoidable. Even maybe later I'm an 80-year-old with gray hair woman, I probably would still be making mistakes. It's not really something I can avoid. And really, yeah, after making those mistakes, I know that it don't define me as a person, but it's rather refine who I am and really teach me the lesson, and it's an opportunity for me to grow from it. That's why it's really refined me as a human being. Number 8 is to be cringe is to be free. Literally, we all sort of relate to this. Any teenager who went through puberty would sort of relate to this. We're just so scared of being cringe. And me too. I tend to care a lot about the emotions of other people around me, but I was so scared of being cringe. I was so scared of exposing myself and look stupid and look embarrassing and look cringe. And what is the definition of being cringe anyway? This is something that I haven't mastered. I don't think I have yet being able to apply it to my real life. I'm still in the process of figuring it out and learning and applying it to my life, because I still find it very hard to be cringe, even though I know, to be cringe is to be free. But I think the growth edge here is to be more upfront and look stupid and embarrassing and makes a lot of mistake by throwing myself into unknown situation and new environments, and like just getting out of my comfort zone, because really, to be cringe is to be free. And sometimes it can mean like take more risk relationally and in connecting with others too. I do sort of like still struggle with this, because I feel like it's sort of like a survival instinct that we human all tend to protect ourselves, protect the most vulnerable parts of ourselves, even though vulnerability is powerful too. Number 9 is approach things in my own pace and not needing to rush things to match other people's pace. And I think this comes from something that I also heard from people around me. And me myself also sort of had this when I was sort of like in my very early 20s, is peer pressure. At that age, I think we just care a lot about, oh, she had that coat, so I would want to have that coat too. Like, we compare ourselves a lot because we're trying to figure out who we are, and I was trying to figure out who I am in this world and in this society. I was self-identifying. That's why a lot of like comparing and everything happens, and I think that's definitely leads to a lot of peer pressure and to rush yourself into things that you never felt ready for. Like, I think we a million of times heard the story of like when in high school they talk a lot about like first kiss and like first relationship and first time having boyfriend. Like, a lot of people are not even ready to push themselves into that the first relationship, but we still do that because of the pressure, because of societal pressure, peer pressure. We need to push ourselves to fit in. I'm not saying that you should never do anything. I'm saying that don't push yourself too hard on the things that you are not yet ready for emotionally, mentally. Listen to your inner voice and your body more. Number 10 is to be compassionate and to love myself first before being compassionate and love others. I think I've always heard of the saying that you can't really love others if you haven't learned to love yourself. But like, I think in my like late teen, early 20, I don't really understand the concept of loving myself in reality. Like, I don't understand what it is, like how, what, like it's so abstracted to me. Like, I thought it was just like, oh, buying things that I want, or like spending money. I don't know. That's all I think about at that age. But as I grew older, I feel like the concept of loving myself and being compassionate with myself, to me personally, is to listen to my body more, listen to my inner thoughts more, being more compassionate and considerate with my inner thoughts, inner feelings, and like my body and my nervous system. They're all signaling, they're signals, and not pushing myself and not beating myself up all the time for not doing things right or making mistakes or everything like that. That is when I started to realize the concept of loving myself. Number 11 is to accepting and letting go of the past, traumas, mistakes, negative experiences, and things that it's no longer serve me any good. Like, it's no longer the present, but it's already something that already happened, and no matter how many times I ruminate over it or like regret it over them, nothing could change anymore. And because these experiences and traumas in the past, the more I keep thinking about it, the more I'm just gonna keep feeling guilty and ashamed. I'm not saying that those emotions are wrong to feel, but I'm just saying that I can't keep dwelling on it. The only thing I can do is reflect it on them and give them closure, and knowing how I can do better next time. If that situation appear in the future, how could I change myself and the way I respond to them in the future so that it wouldn't affect me emotionally like it did in the past? I think the first step to do that, definitely accepting them as they are. Accepting reality that, oh, these happened, but you are no longer being able to change it because it's already in the past. Even if it was yesterday, it was already the past. You have the right to process it, but it's no longer the present. It's already done. And I think that's definitely helped a lot personally. The next lesson is embracing challenges and failures, as well as pains and mistakes. Challenges, difficulties, mistakes, and failures tend to be so hard to deal with when you're in your early 20s and when you're young and you haven't got much life experiences. It doesn't mean that when I get older I don't experience failures and challenges anymore. It's just I deal with it better emotionally. As I reflected back to all the pains and all the mistakes and challenges and failures that I have encountered and made earlier in my life, I know that these are actually opportunities for me to grow, and it showed me my blind spots and things that I need to improve, and it's definitely benefited me more than it's harmed me. The next lesson is mindset. It's everything, literally everything. So the reason this lesson is important to me was because I have shifted my mindset from resisting, playing the victim and blaming, feeling a lot of shame and guilt, into accepting and embracing all the challenges and embracing changes. Acceptance is a big part of it. It just changed my life forever. And that's why the next lesson is important too. Gratefulness. I think as a teenager, I went to therapy, and I recalled every day they would give us a paper asking my top 3 things that I feel grateful that day. And I just have to think so fucking hard. I squeeze my brain out to think about the things that I feel grateful that day. Even though there's just 3 things, I just don't feel grateful. I just don't. It's not like I don't have any gratefulness towards life, but it's I couldn't find anything. In retrospect, the mindset that I had at the time was I gotta have better things than other people, other kids, to feel grateful. And I think we generally do that a lot when we're still a teenager and went through puberty, is we take a lot of things for granted. We just think that things that are available for us will forever be there. And I'm not saying it's just gonna disappear, but it's we take a lot of things for granted. As a teenager, I was just I don't have a lot of life experience or no reality, so I don't have much of a sense of realism in myself. So I was just oh, I gotta have a better piece of clothing than that girl, or I gotta live in a better house, or have a better phone. Whatever it is, I was always thinking that other people was having it better than me, or I don't know, I was just assuming that they were having it better than me. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't even know why I was thinking that, and it was not a confirmed fact, and it was just all my assumptions. Moving from acceptance, self-acceptance, reality acceptance, to gratefulness, I think conflicted emotions and feelings and things that was crowding my mind just disappeared. It's and things that I can possibly feel grateful for doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to be better than other people, but it's rather just these daily little simple things, or daily little simple moments. It could be just anything. I definitely do think that I'm a master of it at this point. That I have successfully learned and applied it into my life. It's so easy for me to find things that I feel grateful for now. I just feel grateful for almost everything. And I don't have to squeeze my brain out like when I was 17. I think this is something that I recently realized, is to take more risk in a relationship and just in human connection in general. I feel I'm just so guarded, and I think it's a coping mechanism, and I know we all do protect ourselves, the most vulnerable part of ourselves. That's just a human instinct thing. My therapists have told me that when I went to therapy back when I was still a teenager. She also told me that, but I never actually get what she meant. And even if I do, I don't exactly know how I'm able to do it. I had a lot of problems and issues back then in my head that I need to figure out first before I come to the point that I need to actually take more risk relationally and emotionally and just in connecting with others by being less guarded. And I think it's something that I still figuring out to apply in real life. But yeah, it's definitely an important lesson for me personally. The next lesson is to not try to rush things in a world that I find so hard to not do that. We all know that we're living in a hustle culture, and in a world that we all hustle. Everything is fast, and it's pushed us to be faster and faster. It's so hard for me to do that too, and I find it so hard because I think I'm a late bloomer in a lot of things. In like hobbies, I was a late bloomer. Relationship wise, I was late bloomers. Everything I did, I started so late compared to other people that I sort of like also hustle myself, and including that I was living in a hustle world and a hustle culture doesn't help at all. As I grew older, after experiences, I know that me always hustling and moving to the next thing and like jumping from relationship to relationship without taking a break or like without ever like actually listening to my inner feelings and actually being aware and conscious and pay attention to my body and my nervous system was signaling that I am not ready. I was just sort of like trying to convince myself and make an excuse and like telling myself lies that I am ready to jump from relationship to relationship or like to jump from this thing to the next thing without actually slowing down and clearing my mind. Whatever that is, I definitely learned my lesson to not always rushing things. Rushing things is just not gonna make it better, but it's rather actually gonna ruin things for me. If you guys like this video, please comment down below and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching and see you next time.